Hi, everyone. I'm Mitch Goddard, and today's episode on the 77 Group channel from chapter 15 of my book, Always Be Recruiting. So that's coming up here, and now over to Frank.
Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to episode number 24. And I want to remind everybody again that every episode mirrors a chapter out of one of our books. Every odd numbered episode I'm doing, and I'm reflecting a chapter from my book that's been out for a bit now called 77 Ways to Enhance Your Communication Skills, Enhancing Your Personal and Professional Relationships. And every even numbered episode, this is number 24, so it is the 12th episode that Mitch has done, will mirror a chapter out of his forthcoming book, 77 Principles, Tips, and Takeaways for Exceptional Leaders. I want to point a couple things out. One is that we do give a little award, a free 15-minute phone call with us for the best question of the week. And if you have a question for either Mitch or I, send it to our respective email addresses, Frank at 77grp.com, or in this case, Mitch at 77grp.com. And what we deem as the question of primary interest, we will address during the presentation. Of course, we want everybody, if you're not already, to subscribe. Last I looked, and I haven't looked in a bit, but I know we're over 400 subscribers, and we just started this, so appreciate it. And like us, if you would, if you do like us, and leave your questions and comments as well. We do look at everything, so all very, very important. So, Mitch, it's back to you, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say on this week's topic.
Yeah, so this week's topic, Always Be Recruiting. Very brief story. Several years ago, my wife was making a Craigslist purchase, and for this big, huge monster wall unit to go in our family room. And this thing, pretty heavy, made of solid walnut. A bit of an accident occurred, and it crashed into my head, opening my forehead with a rather large gash. Long story short, after we got it loaded, went to the emergency room, and the young and very able nurse practitioner who took me as her patient, great demeanor, great following great protocols, just a good patient experience. She's stitching me up, and I'm thinking, and I was an executive in healthcare at the time, I thought I could use someone like her. So I started recruiting this young lady. And although there was a little hesitation at first, obviously she's being very professional. In time, I was able to share my contact information with her. Sometime later, she contacted me. We met. I offered her a job, and she turned out to be a great hire for my team and our organization. So you just never know where the next all-star is going to pop up and come into your life. So always be recruiting. And with that, I'm ready to launch into my 5 tips of the week, Frank.
Well, let's hear tip number 1, Mitch.
All right, very good. So just like I explained, when I was getting my face stitched up, keep your heads up and your eyes open for the talent that's out there. Again, you just never know where you're going to find these people. Could be at a restaurant, could be at a grocery store, could be anywhere. But we all know talent. We live and breathe in a service economy. When we're out getting great service, or when we see someone that's got a really unique and effective style for delivering their whatever it is they do, it doesn't hurt to just strike up a conversation and explore any possibility about having that unique, talented, upbeat, whatever it is you're looking for, that person join your team and make your organization stronger. So tip number 1, keep your head up, eyes open, keep an eye out for talent.
Quick question, Mitch. What's an example of something you would say to somebody if, in fact, it's a waitress or a server that's serving you, and boy, he or she really has what it takes. You have an idea for them. How would you break the ice? What would be an example of what you would say that would be both credible but also comfortable?
Well, I think you got to open with something very light. One of the first thing that popped to mind as you were asking the question was something along the lines of, "So tell me, what is it that you love about working here?" Uh, Using a great Frank Leone tip from episode past, just a light little probe, a little bit, kind of get a sense of where their head's at. Also, a probing question like that is gentle, friendly, not too invasive, and might shed some light on either how qualified that individual might be or how unqualified they might be for the next question. So something very light, specifically speaking, hey, tell me about your job here and what is it you really love about it? And let them talk.
Okay, let's hear tip number two.
All right, so tip number two, and this is a great, unique idea, I think. I wish I had invented it, but I use it, and it's very effective. Recruit for your collaborators. Okay, so what I'm getting into here is that as when you are leading whatever it is, could be one person, could be a team, could be a company. Likely there are other people involved in whatever it is you're working on. Could be a vendor, could be stakeholders, collaborators, whatever. And when you come across talent, because in tip number one, you're keeping your head up and eyes open looking for good talent out there, you might come across somebody after breaking the ice, asking that initial question and some follow-up questions. Well, maybe not here, but man, what a great fit it might be for one of my partners, one of my collaborators, strategic partners or stakeholders. And of course, I can't hire for them, but I can get information, share it with that stakeholder, share it with that collaborator, and then offer an endorsement and see what happens. What that will end up doing over time, if you're able to make that connection, is increase your influence and also help drive your mission to the end. You're making your collaborators stronger, you're making your partners stronger, making your mission stronger, more viable. It's a big win-win-win across the board. So tip number two is recruit for your collaborators.
I'm waiting for tip number three.
All right, so be you when you're recruiting. And really, everybody from a mile away can pretty much spot a phony. So when you approach somebody, when you're recruiting, and this I'm talking about not only in the traditional sense of recruiting, you post a job or you work with a recruiting department or outside recruiting sources, but also just on the fly, like I've described here already. Be you, be genuine, be authentic, be real, because people can tell when you're blowing smoke. And if you're trying to be sincere, but you come off as insincere, you're going to really kill any opportunity you have to land good, talented people to become part of your team. So tip number three, be you when you're out there recruiting.
Okay, well, that's a good one as well. How about tip number four?
All right, so tip number four, and this should go without saying, any visionary that is in a leadership role should look to recruit not only from outside the organization, but especially from inside the organization. As you bring people in and you are developing the culture and developing the people around you, as they develop, you really ought to be engaged in looking at what their future might be. Now, this also includes communicating with all those individuals that have a future with your company beyond what they're currently doing. So, have those conversations. Ask them, just like we would in question number one, like with a restaurant server, or, what is it you love about what you're doing here, and where do you see yourself going in the future? And from that, you'll have a real good idea on what their interest is with either staying with the company and following in your footsteps, or contributing in a greater sense, or on a greater level within the organization. But it helps you begin that molding process, begin that shepherding process to help get them from where they are to where they want to be. And again, another big win-win for you, the individual, and the organization. So, tip number 4, recruit from within.
Mitch, it would strike me that there's a somewhat thin line between talking openly about what possibilities may exist for them moving forward, or not. The advantage of sharing with them what possibilities could realistically exist is it can serve as a sense of motivation. The potential downside is that it could create false expectations that could come back to haunt you. What do you think about that sort of conundrum?
Well, I think you need to avoid the conundrum. You need to be very diplomatic, very, very honest and straightforward, very genuine in identifying what the expectations are. Don't make promises that you can't keep. Don't write checks you can't cash or anything like that. And ensure that as you approach those ideas with the individual, do it in an exploratory fashion. Nothing, you want to avoid such things as, hey, you know what, you're going to be the next great director in this place, and I'm going to make sure you get there. That you're just already setting up yourself for disappointment for you, the individual. And certainly, if there's somebody that you've got eyes on for growing in their role with the company, you don't want to blow them out. You don't want to disappoint them and sever that trust and relationship that you've taken time to develop with them. You want to be very diplomatic, very honest, keep expectations in check, and just explore and say, what are your plans? What is it you'd like to see yourself doing in the next 1, 3 to 5 years? And, if there's anything that you have your eyes on that I can help you with, I'd certainly like to be able to do that.
Okay, and tip number 5, close it out.
All right, tip number 5, stay focused on bringing in fresh talent. And, the fact of the matter is, as much as you work hard to maintain a steady workforce with team members that you're familiar with, that you can count on and like that, things are going to happen. People are going to move on. They're going to find other opportunities. Things are just going to take place that are beyond your control. So bringing in fresh talent is an ongoing job for any leader that wants to keep his engine on the track and moving forward. One of the great benefits, of course, of doing this consistently is that as this new talent comes in, they not only strengthen the organization, but they also tend to keep established players on their best game and away from being complacent. Because when we're surrounded by quality people, everybody's game is elevated. So tip number 5, stay focused on bringing in fresh talent.
Okay, you want to repeat all 5 tips? Then we'll scroll them across the screen.
All right, very good. So tip number 1, keep your head up and your eyes open for talent. Tip number 2 of always be recruiting is recruit for your collaborators. Number 3, be you when you're recruiting. Tip number 4, recruit from within. And finally, tip number 5, stay focused on bringing in fresh talent.
Okay, all very, very good, and thank you. And always a pleasure to learn something every time you speak, so appreciate it. Next week, I'm back on again. It's going to be episode number 25. and the episode is entitled Create Energy, Melt the Ice Around Your Audience. And it's also known in my circles as the Wooden Soldiers Principle. And of the 77 chapters in the book, I'd have to say this is in my top 5 chapters. So please make certain you join me for that. Remember again, we want you very much to subscribe to our YouTube channel, to like us, and to leave your comments and questions when you are done. And then finally, Mitch will discuss the question of the week and offer a personal thought. So back to you, Mitch.
Thanks, Frank. And this week's question of the week winner comes to us, a question generated from episode 20 from chapter 7 of my book, Be the Role Model. This comes from Debbie Does, or Debbie Does, from Jefferson City, Missouri, who wrote me a personal email, a pretty lengthy one actually, at Mitch at 77grp.com, I'm sorry. And she asked simply, what is the most important thing I can do to be a good role model? And really, in one word, Debbie, that is consistency, or 2 words, be consistent. Being a role model is not an occasional thing. It's not a once in a while thing. It's really an all the time thing. Because like I mentioned in that episode, as the leader, eyes are on you, studying you, every raised eyebrow, every smirk, every pause, every change in your tone of voice, all that registers with the people you're leading. So be consistent, because inconsistency is never, ever taken seriously, and it's impossible to enforce or hold up as the standard you're trying to set for everyone. So Debbie Does, great question. You're our winner of the week. Make sure you email me. We'll set up that phone call, and we'll explore it even deeper if you like. And finally, my thought of the week, as Frank alluded to, this is something we like to do every week. Just kind of reflect a little bit, slow everything down, and just pause for a minute and share something that's meaningful to one of us or both of us oftentimes. So today's final thought, not surprisingly, is that one of the true undeniable beneficiaries of serving others is you. And I know in my case, that's always been the case, that even when I set out to labor or serve or provide for someone else's comfort or advancement or whatever it is, I always walk away feeling very rewarded and very uplifted by doing so. So reward yourself, pick yourself up, provide some service in humility for someone else or some other group or organization. You'll feel better for it. It always works.
As always, right on, and very, very thoughtful personal thought for everybody. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to episode number 24, and we'll see you next week. Thank you for your invaluable time.
Thanks, everybody. See you next week.